Hello, this is alexkaapa, and today I want to talk about memes, what impact they have on the brain concerning filtering ideas. First of all, I must define what a meme is, because I suspect some of you will not know what I'm referring to. The idea of memes was introduced by Richard Dawkins in 1976. If you pronounce it right, you might find that the sound of the word resembles a bit with the word gene, and as a matter of fact, you can draw an analogy between them. Like genes, memes are replicators which originated in the primordial soup, but not of chemical elements and molecules, but rather of a mind. The way a gene is a replicating chemical entity, the meme is a replicating idea. There is an equivalent of natural selection, which selects those ideas which can propagate best in the meme pool, in other words, which are popular, regardless of genetic advantages. It has to be said that when the conditions for memes to arise were set by genetic evolution, namely through the formation of a brain capable of imitation, memes took over as replicators in these brains, just the way that genes took over in the primordial soup. When does an idea count as a meme? Simply when the idea is so sophisticated and complex that the equivalent of natural selection can have an effect on it. It thus does not matter how big the idea is to consider if it is a meme, as long as it is big enough. In which way does a replication of memes function? Unlike genetic evolution, where the genes, additionally to having to survive in the gene complex of the machine it inhabits, have to adapt to environmental changes outside the body of the machine, memes only struggle to survive in the brain it inhabits or migrates to. Individual memes can appear to blend into a bigger meme, or can add to an already existing bigger meme. This is similar to mutation. Now here the natural selection of memes steps in and selects the meme which survives best. To see how exactly memes specifically can replicate, I'll give a few examples taken from the selfish gene by Richard Dawkins. Consider the idea of a god. If it is so widespread because of mimetic evolution, then one can definitely say that it has an extremely high survival value. But what gives it such a high survival value? Well, it gives the hosts of this meme consoling answers to psychologically unpleasant questions. The idea of divine justice, whether or not you personally believe it is really just, at least superficially, gives the people who believe in it hope that evil will be rectified. The idea of life after death also takes away the fear of dying, again only superficially of course. God as a father figure gives people a place of refuge, and so forth. You can see on the one hand why the God meme is and has been so successful, but it also shows that these attributes of the meme only work if, on the one hand, the host of this idea has not found consoling answers to the questions already before, and if the need for these questions to be answered arises in the first place. If the meme theory, or however you call it, is true, it also shows one crucial point about the belief in God, namely that we have been, quote, designed to ask these questions, and the God idea was only so lucky as to jump in just at the right time when our reason and logic was not sophisticated, or we just did not have answers to these questions yet. But that is only a side remark. Now this example I gave also shows a way memes find ways to survive in the meme complex or memeplex, namely through cooperation with other memes. Belief in God does not necessarily entail belief in life after death, but this meme surely aids the survival of the God meme, and vice versa, because we can well imagine that a supreme being can give us the opportunity for life after death, which, if he or she did, this would make him or her, superficially at least, more praiseworthy. Especially strong the survival value of the God meme becomes when one also believes in the threat of hell, and again, vice versa. Therefore, you can say that two memes can survive better in the presence of one another and thus replicate more easily. Those memes are selected for which exploit their environment, namely the memeplex, best to their own advantage. But the memeplex is also inhabited by other memes, which are also unselected for, and in the end, a so-called evolutionary stable state will kick in, a state which is hard to be invaded by new memes, except if the memes that invade further reinforce the survival value of the other memes. What all of this shows is that not the most true and logical memes will prevail, but rather memes which are just best able to survive in the environment it lives in. Eventually, an evolutionary stable state kicks in, and from then on it is extremely hard for other rival memes to invade. With an individual with the memeplex composed this way, a huge problem arises when the memeplex is shaped in such a manner that those memes that have managed to survive are simply put wrong and or destructive. If the ideas are really not grounded in reality, conflicts are bound to happen, because these memes will determine how you act and interact with other individuals. Especially dangerous this becomes when memes and sets of memes are so good at replicating that they easily can invade other memeplexes, i.e. that other individuals believe in the same destructive nonsense. A brilliant example is a memeplex in which there is a belief in God who is wrathful, petty, in-group and out-group generating, and capricious, and above all, intimidating through the threat of hell and lauded by his offer of eternal reward, both under certain circumstances of course, namely following his rules. Now if these sets of rules have no or little bearing with reality, and are even sometimes destructive to other individuals, then there is a huge problem. Additionally to that, if this memeplex contains a meme of faith, or blind faith if you will, the memeplex is sufficiently protected from rational invasion. How do we change these kinds of memeplexes? One hope is that true memes or logically consistent memes are on average more attractive to memeplexes than untrue or irrational memes. Or, if at least the former are more likely to prevail in today's world of memes and form evolutionary stable states. But necessarily, even if this is the case, there are, simply by chance, instances when the latter can propagate in a memeplex and form, in turn, its evolutionary stable state. This becomes especially crucial when considering the danger of, for example, the analogy of genetic drift. For example, if the memeplex of irrational and untrue memes, which I will call memeplex A, also contains memes which cause one to genetically propagate more, for instance to negate contraceptives or espouse gender roles such as females being a baby machine. These individuals will indoctrinate their children with memeplex A, and they in turn will do the same with their children, and so forth. The families will tend to become bigger because they can propagate more, and then memeplex A will also become more numerous. And on the one hand, memeplex A can be more frequently spread and happen to hit an open ear, and on the other hand, the population of this family, which contains memeplex A, can start to exceed those that don't contain this memeplex, simply because kin are more efficiently isolated from the rest of the world, providing memes an easy environment to reproduce in. If there are no forces acting against it, even in today's world memeplex A could theoretically become so frequent that it can become evolutionary stable in the whole population. Now, which forces could counteract? Public education in one way, though often it is inefficient. Even if there are things which can be done, the least which can be said is that this scenario is a problem, and unfortunately not so unrealistic, especially if you consider that many of these counterforces can generate new memes which reinforce the survival value of these other memes, like for example conspiracy theories or memes of hatred and vengeance against rivaling memes. And what if true memes or logically consistent memes are not as attractive to other memeplexes as those of memeplex A? Then all I can say is that we're pretty screwed.